I've always been around my family, and they've always taught me about all music, not just rhythm and blues. All music. My auntie took me to a club one time for dinner and listened to a little jazz playing, and then coming up, I never forget. Then they took me to see the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. I never forgot that. Then I went to see B.B. King one day with my mom, outing. And he was singing and women was falling out. I said, I'd like to do this. So I started just singing and messing around, And I went to Europe. I got in a group called the Carls. As a group, we won every talent show we went into. Then I came home and I started singing with another guy named LC. And we were like Sam and Dave, Then one day LC got married, and the agent said, "You strong enough by yourself?" So I started doing it. And a friend of mine named Kenny Smith, I saw him at the Ramada Inn after I did a show. He walks up to me and he says, "I got a little studio." I said, "Oh, yeah?" I said, "Well, let me come out and see what it's about." And I went out there, and he said, "Just give me $100 and I'll record you." And I started recording a place called Sumi Records in El Paso, Texas. You hear how people who get hooked on meth talk? That's how I was. I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And so it went from there. Just going out hustling, pawning my suits, whatever I had to do to get into that studio, I did. I looked around, I see war, I see a world all torn apart. I see the children suffering without any kind of life. Their whole world has been torn up by power and strife. We need to do better in every way. Why don't you listen to what I say? We don't need any more suffering. Somebody shake a hand, oh, make a friend. Love will make it all right. Love will make it all right. I was in the chorus in the 7th grade, and I was supposed to do a duet with a friend of mine named Frank Floyd, who I ask God to praise, he's passed away now. But Frank's mother got sick, and he couldn't sing it. And the song was Blue Moon. And then Mrs. Smith, our music teacher, was playing the song. Then she gave me my nod to sing my solo. And I sang my solo. And when I got through singing, the place stood up. I got a standing ovation. And everybody was saying, "Wow, this guy can sing." Everybody was saying, "We didn't know your son could sing like that, Mrs. Pride." We need suffering. Somebody shake a hand. Oh, make a friend. Say love will make it all right. Love will make it all right. Love. If you go into my house, you can see from my family collection, you got the Tabernacle Choir, you got Billie Holiday, you got B.B. King, and you got John Lee Hooker. And I was well-rounded like this. Even today, I could sit, and a man asked me, he said, "Well, who's one of your favorite singers?" I said, "Andrea Bocelli, the opera singer." I said, you have to listen to what he does. You know, you don't understand what he's saying because you don't speak Italian, but listen to his articulation and the magic from his voice. So when I'm on stage, I try to do the same thing. You know, and that's other guys I like well too, but I heard Andrea Bocelli, he skipped with his voice. It was amazing to me. I want my child to grow up in peace. No more wars or hate. You won't get that from me. Why don't we try a thing called respect? It'll work if you put your heart in it. I don't think it was just baby. I think it was just something that's been in me all of my life. And seen a lot of artists on television doing things in it. You see this, and it wasn't the fame or the fortune. It was just something that they seem happy doing. And you know, I've had a lot of people tell me, you know, Lou, it's very seldom you can get up in the morning and go to work and really be happy to go. And I am. I was doing a show 2 years ago, I'll never forget it, at a college, and I was standing there, and I was dressed, and I had all my rings, and I was standing there, and this audience, I said to myself on that stage, this is where you belong. And you know, and you have that kind of a feeling that transcends from you to your audience. You know, I played in front of 40,000 people before, and I don't like going to parties. I'm a stick in the mud. But put me in front of a 500,000 people, I don't care. That's where I want to be. Say it again, say it again. Say it one more time. I'm gonna sing. If you keep on believing, don't be deceiving yourself. I had the opportunity when I used to record at High Records with the Al Green Band to sit up in the booth when Willie Mitchell would be producing. And I learned, and if you read the articles they say about me, they say he's a throwback to the 70s. They like it, you know. But what you hear is what I've heard the top producers in the world do. This man produced Al Green, umpteen million hits, you know. And he would just hell and lock it in. And this is my philosophy. This is what I do. Soul music is just that 1, 2, 3, 4, where that lock. That's soul music is that good soup. But if you let people start and put salt in there, you mess up the soup. So like Willie Mitchell told me one day, he said, let me tell you something. When you bake a cake, bake the cake before you put on the icing. Thank you so much. I wrote that song for my mama. Oh, thank you so much. I just want to recognize the fact that when I went home and got into church, this is what really kind of elevated me to that upper tier. Because Reverend Fairchild, when he asked me that day, he said, what do you need? I said, I got to get a producer. I've learned one thing in my life. If you're not a heart surgeon, don't try to do surgery. You get somebody who knows what they're doing. I said, Reverend, I need a good producer. He said, let me call my buddy up. So he calls. He says, hey, Marvin, got a guy here that needs some help. And I can hear Marvin on the other end saying, he got any money? Reverend Fairchild say, no, he don't have no money, but you gonna help him anyway, right? And I said, he said, I help him. He said, but just tell him to give me $100 for transportation for, which I can get that. And so I said, Reverend, who'd you get to help me? He said, Marvin Yancey. I said, Natalie Cole's Marvin Yancey? He said, yeah, Natalie Cole's husband. I said, Reverend, I can't afford him. He said, don't worry about it. And you know, Marvin was a minister too. And him and Fairchild all grew up together. So Marvin helped produce 2-3 songs for me, you know. Just as gracious as he could be. Never know he had a quarter. I'd go to his house and he got all this gold and platinum. He had just moved and all this gold and platinum record was laying all on the floor. I said, Marvin, when you gonna hang up your platinum and your gold record? I said, okay. And then he passed away. And then his brother Kevin, I found out later, Kevin was doing a lot of that producing with him and Natalie. And he produced some things for me. And then one day, Reverend said to me, he says, can you get some hotel money? I said, I'll scrape up a few bucks, I guess. They're good, I'll pick you up about noon. So I got in the car with him and Kevin Yancey, and we drove to Atlanta. He said, I'll call you when I need you. I went up to my room. He called me the next day and said, come on down. Opened up the door. Curtis Mayfield was sitting on the bed. Yeah, he said, Lou, Curtis Mayfield, Lou. Curtis, Lou needs a record deal. Okay. I mean, I didn't know whether to faint or what, you know. He said, okay, I'll give him a record deal. Curtis wrote a song on his CD. It's called A New World Order. The name of the song was How Did I Get So Far Gone? It's about the junkie man, you know. And then he writes some of the most prolific, beautiful ballads in the world. He wrote those. And I got a chance to meet all the original Impressions. I would be in the studio and I had an insight, you know, by being around him, looking at his material and looking at all the gazillion people he wrote for. And he was always mild-mannered, easygoing, you know, and he when he'd write, he said he'd take his time and write. He said, don't write to make Son, Run, John. Yeah. He said, don't write like that. Take your time and write. He said, if you can't figure out nothing, say, put it down. Say, if you lay down, sooner or later it'll come to you.
Can't you see I told her can't hold it? Oh, Lord, can't hold it. She got my love coming down on me. Can't hold it. Oh, no.
What I've learned about people is something very simple. If you want to be treated right, treat people right. If you want respect, give respect. And I think Reverend Fairchild would see me, because the church he had at first, the small church, they would come by and see me cutting grass, cleaning up somebody's house, washing somebody's windows. I was never too proud to make the money I needed to get into that studio, because I knew that was my way out. That was my way. That's where I wanted to be, you know. And I never be jealous of anyone. So if I can, you know, I can help a man, I help him. And if you know, if he don't want help, then don't help him. There's nothing you can do about that. But I learned that from Reverend, you know. And the first thing Reverend Fairchild told me, he said, I don't want nothing. Well, here's a man can pick up the phone and call Curtis Mayfield or Marvin Yancey or any of the, you know, he had a Reverend Jasper Williams, one of the most prolific preachers in this country today. He has a beautiful big church in Atlanta. And before I got to going good, Jasper told Fancy out, he said, well, if he can't get a label, I'll put him on mine. Rev said, man, that's a gospel label. He said, I don't care. For your buddy, he my buddy. This is what I'm talking about. You know, so that's what it's all about.
Can't hold it all night long.
Cut a record in 1972 called I'm Coming Home in the Morning. And you know what? Somebody took it to England. It was #1 for 9 weeks. And when I go to England now, I went to England for my first time about 4 years ago. You thought I was the Beatles. They were running up to me and signing autographs and going crazy, you know. And one of those original records today sells for $2,500.
But were you able to see any of the benefits? I mean, you see it now, but when it was #1, were you able to see any?
I didn't see any of the benefits, any of them. And I'm not the only one. I mean, they ripped off a lot of people were like that, man. This is not something new. You know, the guy who stole it, God bless him. Hope the money does you some good, you know. I don't have time to hate him. I'm moving on with my life.
Did that change your attitude towards the business, though?
No, because I didn't find out till 10 years later. Bill Taylor said, I'm flying to El Paso. I need to see you. He come in and said, man, you were #1 in England all those weeks. Never got a dime. We have an idea who got it, but like I said, let me move on with my life. I got better things to do. And the person who stole it, he's welcome to it. Because he hurt me financially, but then again, he did me a lot of good in the long run.
Once again, my love, I start back to you. Please forgive me, babe, for the things I used to do. Oh, girl, breaking your heart. You know I can't change it. Please forgive me, babe. No, I didn't mean it, oh no. But the road kept on yearning, and your fire kept on burning, bringing me back home. Oh, bringing me back home. Heartaches and sorrow I brought to our life.
I just had some lean years. You know, I mean, I was a single parent raising kids, man, and you know, you put a pot of beans on and you keep going. And I had a lot of lean years. But one thing I never did, I never lost my integrity. I would go to shows and a lot of guys would look at me and laugh because I would change clothes during the show. I would bring my clothes with me to change into because I saw the other artists do, the big artists do this. So, you know, so I would try to emulate them in every way that I could to make, you know, make myself look like I was somebody. And eventually in time, I got the rings and the clothes and all that, you know, and the shows and people calling me for record deals and stuff, you know, so I got that. So right now, I'm just keep on going because the next stop is the Grammys. And this is what you have to believe. If you believe you can get it, then you'll have it. But if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will either.
Change my way of living, girl. start all over again. Oh yeah, I'll give you my heart, just like from the start. If you bring me back home, oh, bring me back home. I said the road kept on yearning, and your fire kept on burning. I want you to come on back home. Oh, bring me back home, baby. Lord, just bring me back home. I look at my career and my life like this. I say, if you think you got it bad, cut on the TV. I'm not sleeping in the mud. I ate a beautiful dinner tonight. I'm in a beautiful hotel. I'm being interviewed. You know, don't complain, because you're not the only cat who had a heart attack. You're not the only guy on dialysis. You know, don't complain. You got good music out, a lot of people love you, and a lot more are starting to love you. So don't complain. Just keep on going. You know, keep that blessing going, because once you start being animostic, then you stop, because then you cannot grow. When my good friend Tad and David called me and said, Tad, I want you to help him with a couple of songs, you know, some guy would have said, no, not me. You can't be selfish, because when you're selfish, you don't grow. And I write songs all the time. I call David all the time, I got a new song for you. He said, okay. And call me tomorrow. So that's where I'm at. So don't be selfish. Anybody, just, if somebody needs your help, give it to them. Even if they do you wrong. You know, you don't have to give it to them a second time, it hurt you, but give it to them. Just, even if somebody else has done you wrong. That way, you'll always grow. But you'll never grow if you're selfish or mad or hateful. You'll never grow.